This is Mrs. Naslin, and today we'll be doing Unit 2, Lesson 6, Perimeter and Area of Complex Figures. Our learning targets for today are, I can compose and decompose complex figures, and I can find the perimeter and area of a complex figure. The vocab we'll be talking about is rectangle, area, complex figures, perimeter, and dimensions. All right. So first off, finding the area of complex, we call this complex area, is one of my favorite things to teach. And it's kind of like a puzzle that you're trying to solve. So I think you're going to really enjoy it as we get in. At first it can be a little challenging, but once you figure it out, it's like figuring out a puzzle every time. So we're going to start with this little scenario that helps us understand how complex area works. So it says, a city park has a deep swimming pool for older children. This year, the city is planning to add a wading pool for younger children next to the deep pool. In these drawings, the side of each square unit represents 1 yard. So we're going to go through and answer a series of questions to help us understand how we can figure out the perimeter and area of these complex figures. So the first question says, what is the shape of the deep pool? All right, well, that's not too hard. We know that that's a rectangle. All right, now it says, what are the perimeter and area? So we're looking at this deep pool. Again, when we find perimeter, we're going to go ahead and count these squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And sometimes they'll just give you a number. We won't have these nice grids. Sometimes we get it, so we'll use it. 1, 2, 3. All right, and we know with perimeter that if that's 8, this is 8. And if this is 3, then this is 3. We go ahead and add those all together, and we end up with a perimeter of 22 yards. All right, so we have a perimeter of 22 yards, and now we want to find the area. And again, for finding area, we're going to do the length times the width, so 8 times 3, which gives us a area of 24 square yards. All right, now what is the shape of the added wading pool right here? Well, that added wading pool is a square, and now they want us to calculate what the perimeter and area of that square is. So let's go ahead and count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and since it's a square, let's double check, but yep, it's 4. So we know that it's 4 all the way around, and we want to go ahead and add those together to give us our perimeter, which will give us 16 yards. And then we want to calculate the area of that square. And again, we do 4 times 4, okay, base times height, or length times width, 4 times 4, which gives us 16 square yards. Oops, sorry. 16 square yards. So we have those figured out. Let's keep going. It says, what is the area of the new pool? All right, well, whenever you get to a complex area like this or a shape like this, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and draw a line to make them into squares and rectangles. So I'm going to draw my own little line here. And hey, we already figured out the area of this one. This was that 24, right? That's what we figured out in this first image right here. Figured out the area was 24 square yards, and we figured out the area of this little teeny one is 16 square yards. So in order to figure out the combined area, we're going to go ahead and add the 24 plus 16. All right, and that'll help us figure out the combined area of those two pools when they're put together. So 6 plus 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0, carry the 1. We end up with 2, 3, 4. We end up with 40 square yards, because that's what we're measuring in. So 40 square yards is our combined area of those things, of those two pools put together. Now they want us to find the perimeter of the new pool. So to find the perimeter, again, we're going to calculate all around the outside. Now, it's going to be a little different than this original one. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to label all these. We know that this is 8. You know this is 3. But then this is a new one that we didn't quite figure out before. 1, 2, 3. This is 3 as well. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4. This is 4. Then we have this little teeny one right here that's a 1. And then we have 3. So to calculate the perimeter, we've got to add all of these all the way around, which when we add all those all the way around, we end up with the perimeter being 30 yards. It says, why is the area of the new pool the same as the area of the deep pool plus the area of the wading pool? So why was the area of these two the same as if we would have added them together? Well, joining the two shapes does not change the total area, right? The two shapes joined together, but the area stayed the same. Now, why is the perimeter of the new pool not the same as the perimeter of the deep pool plus the perimeter of the wading pool? Why couldn't we add this perimeter and this perimeter together to get the total perimeter? And the reasoning is you need to go around the outside of the new figure and don't add the sides on the inside of the new figure. So basically we have to go around this whole outside. We're not going to count that line right there because that's not the perimeter. That's in the internal or the middle part of the figure. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of how complex area works. So now we're going to go ahead and practice a couple of them. These ones are nice because it gives us, again, those little layout. It says each of these are worth 1 yard. So we have to calculate both the area and the perimeter. So again, my trick I told you earlier is that you always want to draw your little lines in for yourself. That helps just when we're calculating. And then let's go ahead and calculate the perimeter first. So we'll do the bottom here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the bottom. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. And then we're doing 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1. And then we go ahead and add all of those up. And when we add them all up, we end up with a total perimeter of 32 yards. Now the area, remember, we're going to calculate the length times the width, or the base times the height. And I always like to write them right in the middle. So we're going to think, okay, what is 8 times 3? All right, which is 24. So we'll write that right in the middle. And then we get to calculate the area of just this little shape right here. Remember where we drew that line? So 5 times 1 equals 5. I'm going to go ahead and add those together. 24 plus 29, or sorry, 24 plus 5 ends up equaling 29 square yards. Okay, so again, you add the two total areas to get your combined area. All right, so I'm going to help you label these, and then I'm going to have you work on calculating your perimeter and area. So first, let's go ahead and draw our boxes to make them a little bit smaller. So again, you're going to calculate for each one of these. So first, let's do the perimeter around the outside. So we've got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We know that this is 3. We've got 1, 2. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 1, 2, 3 again. Then we have 1, 2. And sometimes they'll give you these. It's a 2 there. We're going to make that a little clearer. 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 2. Then we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Lastly, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so start by going ahead and calculate your perimeter. And we're going to want to add all of those together to get the perimeter, and let's see what you got. All right, so when you add all those together, you should get a total of 44 yards. All right, now you're going to go ahead and calculate the area. And remember, you're going to calculate the area of each of these boxes. Now, there's one that might stump you a little bit. I'm going to give you a hint. It's this one right here. Because I gave you the 3, but in order to calculate the area, you're going to need to know this one. Now, it's nice when we have these little dots because it tells us that this is 2. So I'll label that for you. And now, remember, we're going to calculate the area of each box and add them together to get your total area. Let's see how you end up doing. All right, so if you added them all together, you should get a total area of 46 square yards. And again, you would have gotten that by calculating the area of each one. So 8 times 3 is 24, so this big box is a 24. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 8 times 2 is 16. So you would have needed to add 24 plus 6 plus 16, which would give you that total area of 36 square yards. All right, now sometimes they like to try to trick you where they don't give you all of these lengths and you have to try to figure it out for yourself. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that'll help you with that. First off, when you look at a shape, remember directly across, if it's exactly the same, they're the same. So if this is 2 inches, guess what? This is 2 inches. We can use that here too. We've got a 5-inch here, so this is going to be, you got it, 5 inches. Now this one is hard because there's nothing directly across from it, and so it's hard to figure out exactly what that one is. So here's a little trick that can help you. Figure out if, so this one's going vertical, up and down. Figure out a vertical that you do know. So I know that this whole length from here to here is 9. And if I look carefully, I know that there's a 3 here and there's a 3 here. So even though they're not right next to each other, they still make up part of that vertical wall. So I'm going to just add those two together. So I'm going to say 3 plus 3. So from here to here, I have 6 inches. Okay? So if I have 6 inches here, and I know that this whole thing is 9 inches, I'm going to subtract. I'm going to say 9 minus 6, which is going to give me 3, which will be here. And you'll see it works. 3 plus 6 equals 9, that whole length. Okay? Then, knowing that, I want you to go ahead and calculate the perimeter all the way around this shape. All right, so again, you're going to add all of this around. So 2 plus 9 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3. You add all that together and you should get a perimeter of 32 inches. Now, remember, for calculating the area, you're going to divide it into a box. You're going to find the area of this rectangle, the area of this rectangle, and add them together. All right, so if you calculated 2 times 9, you would end up with your 18. And if you did your 5 times 3, you'd end up with 15. And when you add those two together, you would get an area of 33 square inches. All right, so there's our 33 square inches. All right, so today we learned how to find the area and perimeter of complex figures. Great work.